Although, rationale isn't a strong suit. But basically, how powers are generally detached. I don't think we're going to get it back to the. Excuse me. But really, they've totally outsourced system. Like, you think one country isn't like a massive alliance. America. When you say America, it's inherent that it has massive alliances, and you're outsourcing that work to other countries that will then shoe in morality. And if if that one power or that one centrality that makes those judgments, whether they be a computer or a human, I don't necessarily know if it's computer based, but um, that one central argument, it just feels like powers are based on one central argument. That's like a world court among what country uh, just violated the law against another country, which is like, I don't know. I said I was kind of like casually against the whole neo-colonialism thing, or whether there's a detachment categorically other than neocon. I mean the domineering nature that has our economy bound. I'd rather have a good economy, but it's potentially impossible to unbind as well. That's like that could be literally impossible, and that's odd because like that means our main allies, which I'm viewing as like Australia and the UK, and okay, Europe's there, but like the literal meta layer that the populace is interacting on daily for work, isn't necessarily a strong observation to who is actually in control of feeding the argument. It's like, I don't know. That's really a weird metabolism of it, but you never know what you can get. I mean, if a vote mattered, and I'm not saying it doesn't matter because a vote does casually matter, maybe. I don't know, but I think we should have better systems of law either way. Either way, a more humane law stacks up in all the dogma that happens. A more humane law, I think. Like, and they are. That's the thing is like there are massive like systems that we passively go through that we don't think the world is going to have to keep like passing us through. That's the thing, dude. Like you want a humane, rational society, right? But if it's irrational and it doesn't necessarily subscribe to a better faith argument, and it's somehow subsistingly or casually, or the way it upholds itself is like you know per, imperpetually irrational and doesn't change itself, like with crime or stuff like that. Like there are such obvious extensions into the irrationality of law. Like, but I don't know. People play an irrational game. Like that's the thing. There's systems of learning, and there's correction of the trajectory to get there. Um, and that's actually healthier. I don't necessarily want to overtly speak here because like I feel like a singularity. Like, yeah, I recognize there's going to be a much better trajectory, but I have brain disease and I'm disabled anyway. So it's like not everything I say is going to come across as like actually there's more substantial point there, and but you know, situational awareness of generations changing around you, like you think it's a good hand, right? You think it's a good hand, but me, because I lack awareness, I'm never gonna make that a good hand, which which automatically puts me in my own label, right? Which isn't good. But the only way out of it is a better faith argument to either have with myself or in my life. I don't know. It's weird because it's a brain illness, right? There's a certain inept, like the functional time I take to process one thing. This is a normal human. Functional human can either make more judgments or exist in a time that it takes longer to make the right judgment. I make worse judgments in a limited amount of time. That's about how I can explain that. But the time the time I take to think is actually shorter. So than a normal person, normal developed person. But anyways, trajectories, adversary. There's a massive, like, say there's massive adversity that is just in the population. Maybe there's a deprecation of the area. Maybe there's a threat within people that's in the area. Like the soft power that people casually represent back to their country, I feel is so in check that like people don't really. I don't know, man. If I could think my way out of being just like on home plate with myself all the time, I'd assume I'd feel a lot better. But it's difficult because not all law is criminal law either. You could have effectually or effectively, you know, if you think about what is the law, what is what is the casual reinforcement of your rights? What is your liberty, and what is the guiding principle that casually you have? That's like it's so I don't know. I'd rather get more scientific. There's probably a better science of it. That's like countable arguments. How can you how can you think people are so different when there's only countably identical arguments that are only halved? I can't. Other than halved, I don't have the argument for you. Uh, that are casually halved to exist all in a system of their own outside of doing basic maneuvers. Like how and how does it affect the world to have people have a better faith in an art, a better faith argument? Well, it makes things more humane, but other than the bottleneck of um, other than the bottleneck of that argument getting to the point where um, because I don't know, that's like people in a better position will always be handed a better more basically or something better. Like if you could distribute into a society, what would you put there? Like and that's actually it goes down to the millimeter or meter of reason that it's like engineered too. Like I don't know. It's like they want to change the generationally. That's like okay. if you look at someone 2020 through 30 something, 2, 3, rationally they rationalize more towards observations they make, when they're given something. And that's like an intellectual idea that they'll carry. So I'm not sure whether a generation of good faith arguments will necessarily change anything for the better either. You know, like even as I ixnay that idea, it's like what necessarily causes less crime? It's more of a traffic pattern and a linear transmission, either that hit crime or not crime. But I don't know, the scaling of punishment, the scaling of psychological punishments is basically principally on them, right? So it doesn't necessarily always mean, I don't know. That's like, does someone perturb you? Like, does someone control an invasion of your physical space? You know, does your classifier of mind, because it's only truncated to one thing, do other elaborations and stability and intergenuity and integrity of a society? It's hard. It's where does your physics in the populace basically rationally hit the perception that punishment is punishment as well? It's like those underlying arguments, basically. Oh,